I left my husband for my high school sweetheart, and it was the worst decision of my life. The sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, catching the glitter of my wedding ring as I absent-mindedly stirred my coffee. The house was quiet, too quiet. The kids were at school, and Mark, my husband of 10 years, was at work. The silence should have been a gift, a rare moment of calm in our busy lives. But instead, it felt oppressive, as if the walls of our suburban home were closing in around me. I looked down at my phone, heart pounding as I read the message for the 100th time. I still think about you, Emma. Do you ever think about me? Jason. My high school sweetheart. The boy I had loved with every fiber of my being before life and distance tore us apart. And now, after nearly 2 decades, he was back in my life, through a chance Facebook message that had ignited something I thought I'd buried long ago. Mark came home that evening, his tie loosened and his face weary from another long day at the office. "Hey, babe," he said, kissing me on the cheek. "How was your day?" "Fine," I replied, my voice tight. "Something wrong?" he asked, concern flickering in his brown eyes. "No, just tired," I lied, avoiding his gaze. In truth, I couldn't stop thinking about Jason. The messages had escalated from casual catching up to late-night conversations filled with confessions and nostalgia. He told me about his failed marriage, his regrets, and how he never stopped loving me. I told him things I couldn't even tell Mark, about my frustrations, my boredom, my yearning for something more. One evening, Mark found me sitting in the dark, staring at my phone. "You've been distracted lately," he said, his voice careful but firm. "What's going on?" I hesitated, the weight of my secret crushing me. "It's nothing," I said, too quickly. He stepped closer, his jaw tightening. "Emma, I know when you're lying." "Who is it?" The question hung in the air, and I felt my stomach drop. "It's not what you think," I stammered. "Then tell me what it is," he demanded, his voice rising. I couldn't. I didn't have the courage to admit that I had already emotionally checked out of our marriage, that I was thinking about a life with someone else. The decision to leave Mark wasn't easy, but Jason made it feel inevitable. He painted a picture of a life filled with passion and excitement, a stark contrast to the routine and predictability of my marriage. "I can give you what he can't," Jason said during one of our late-night calls. "We had something special, Emma. Don't you want to feel that again?" I did. God, I did. So I packed my bags, sat Mark down, and told him the truth. "I'm leaving," I said, my voice trembling. "I'm not happy anymore." Mark stared at me, his face a mixture of shock and pain. "Is there someone else?" I nodded, unable to meet his eyes. "Jason." His laugh was bitter and hollow. "Your high school boyfriend? Are you serious?" "I'm sorry, Mark. I need to do this." He didn't fight me. He didn't yell or beg. He simply nodded and said, "I hope you find what you're looking for." At first, being with Jason felt like stepping into a dream. He whisked me away to romantic dinners and long drives, making me feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. He was everything I remembered, charming, spontaneous, and deeply in love with me. But dreams have a way of turning into nightmares. "Do you really have to work late again?" Jason asked one evening, his voice edged with irritation. "Yes, Jason. I have bills to pay," I replied, trying to keep my patience. "You never had to work this much when you were with Mark." I froze, his words like a slap to the face. "Are you seriously bringing him up right now?" "Well, it's true, isn't it? He made enough money so you didn't have to kill yourself like this." "And whose fault is that?" I snapped. "I left stability for you, Jason. Don't you dare throw it in my face." It didn't take long for the cracks in Jason's perfect facade to show. The man who once seemed so confident and driven turned out to be impulsive and unreliable. His promises of a better life were just that, promises. He struggled to hold down a job, spent money recklessly, and dismissed my concerns with a wave of his hand. "You're acting like my ex-wife," he sneered during one of our fights. "Nagging me about every little thing. I'm trying to make this work, Jason, but you're not helping." "You knew who I was when you left him," he shot back. "Don't act surprised now." His words stung because they were true. I had known. I just didn't want to believe it. One day, I found myself sitting in my car outside Mark's house. The kids were inside, spending the weekend with him, and I had come to drop off their backpacks. But instead of ringing the doorbell, I stayed in the driver's seat, watching through the window as Mark helped our daughter with her homework. He looked happy, calm and content in a way I hadn't seen in years. When he glanced out the window and saw me, he came outside. "Emma," he said, surprised. "What are you doing here?" I just wanted to see the kids," I lied. "They're fine," he said, his tone polite but distant. "Is there something else you need?" I hesitated, my throat tightening. "Mark, I think I made a mistake." He raised an eyebrow. "Leaving? Or leaving for him?" "Both," I admitted, tears welling in my eyes. I thought I was chasing happiness, but all I've found is regret." Mark sighed, his expression softening. "Emma, I loved you. I still do, in some ways. But you made your choice." "I know," I whispered. I'm sorry." As I drove away, I felt the weight of my choices pressing down on me. I had traded stability and security for a fantasy that crumbled the moment it faced reality. I had hurt the man who had stood by me through everything, all for someone who couldn't even stand by himself. Jason and I broke up a few months later. The passion that had once burned so brightly had fizzled into resentment and bitterness. I was left alone, picking up the pieces of a life I had shattered with my own hands. Now, I sit in a small apartment, the walls bare and the silence deafening. My phone buzzes with a text from Mark, a picture of our kids smiling at the park. I smile through my tears, knowing that while I may never get back what I lost, I can still be grateful for the parts of my life that remain. And as for Jason? He's just a name in my past, a reminder that love, no matter how passionate, isn't always enough. Sometimes, stability is the greatest gift of all.